Hey, all my Scorpio friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today with your July 2024 monthly horoscope. These horoscopes are based on whole sign Western astrology. So when I talk about Scorpio, I'm referring to Scorpio rising as the first house. This is also applicable to Scorpio sun and Scorpio moon. And if you have 3 or more personal planets in the sign of Scorpio, this is applicable to you as well. When I say a day or a time, I'm referring to the Pacific time zone. So please adjust for your location. The month starts off with an opposition from your ruling planet to Mercury. Mercury is here in Cancer. Cancer is your 9th house. That is the house of our higher education. It is a house that's also a house that has business in it. It represents publishing, branding, marketing, any sort of, I think, promoting yourself, creating content these days is one of the things I would consider under the 9th house rule. And it's also your belief system and your connection to the divine. It's a house that also has this layer of Cancerian energy, of connection and of feeling supported and nurtured and trusting an inner voice, that woman's intuition, where it's not really woman's intuition, but it is the receptive energy of the feminine divine. Now we have Mercury here representing our everyday activities, representing those short bits of information that we gather from the news headlines, that they'll, little bits of, how do I want to frame it? It's almost like getting just enough information to get the concept, but not really getting enough information to dig deep. And if there's something that Scorpio likes, it's to dig deep. It rules the deepest psychological dynamics within the human experience. And this is an opposition. So frankly, what it feels like is that Scorpio is in a push-pull between the monkey mind, the mind that runs your everyday life and all the things that you have to do, versus a deeper inner knowing that maybe some of those activities or some of those thoughts, some of those endeavors are not aligned to a deeper truth of what you want. When I first looked at the chart and I started doing the Julys, I could not help but notice all the ones in the degrees. The Mercury is at 28 degrees, which is the Cancerian degree, but it also reduces down to a 10, which reduces down to a 1. Obviously, Pluto is here at 1 degree retrograde. We see the sun is at 10 degrees. There's another 1. We see the nodes at 11 degrees. We see Neptune at 29 degrees, which reduces down to an 11. We see Saturn at 19 degrees, reducing down to a 10, which reduces down to a 1. This month of July is riddled with an awareness of our everyday thoughts that run us. Our brain is literally a machine, and we think that we have thoughts, but we don't really. We probably infuse intentional thoughts in our day at such a small percentage in comparison to how we run on an automatic pilot. And I guess that's the best way I could say it. There's some sort of argument between running on automatic pilot and a deeper dive into the things that are most important to you, the things you want most. We see Aquarius is your 4th house of home. And that's that deep imprint, the imprint of how we were raised, how we were valued, how we were told we were smart, or we were pretty, or we were handsome, or we were strong. This is very much running in the background, and it will continue to run in the background for over a decade, because we're going to see your ruling planet in a sextile to Neptune. Neptune is going to retrograde on the 2nd of July, but right now, moving forward, we're focused on the idea that these are cooperative components to recognize unconscious imprints and then use them as spiritual tools to uplift yourself and those around you. It's almost as if it's the ultimate, the dark serves the light. Neptune in and of itself can feel erosive, want to escape, not want to see what's going on. Pisces is your fifth house of your self-expression, of your fun, your enjoyment, your romances. And this is going to bring an awareness of the deep imprint of that and an opportunity for shifting of that. And this is further evidenced by Neptune's sextile to Uranus. This will go on for the next maybe 3, 4, 5 years. I didn't write that down, but knowing how slow this planet, but the quickest of all of them, is going to move into Gemini. And this is Uranus is in a trine to Pluto. So we're really looking at this dynamic of shifting a big thing for you. Taurus is your seventh house of partnerships and how you perceive partnerships. And it gives you an opportunity to be liberated from an old imprint that may have been up until now detonating and destroying your partnerships, or your sense of self within them. We also see that Uranus is making a nice aspect to Mercury here. But at the same time, while this is harmonious, it's also sort of, it feels a little fuzzy to me. Maybe that's because Uranus is sextile to Neptune, but Mercury is making a trine. So there becomes a potentially superficial awareness that your reactions to things, the way you're speaking or feeling, is on some level habitual. It's an imprint, a branding that happened a long time ago. And now you have an opportunity to be aware and start to be more selective with your verbiage, more intentional with your inflection. I want to put it that way. I'm just so captivated by the ones in this chart and what they mean. When you see the repetitive number ones, it's spirit telling you that your mind is manifesting. Your thoughts are drawing experiences and people into your everyday life, into your consciousness, for you to make a choice. And I think that that's going to be reflected throughout the month as we move forward. Let's go over to the second. We see that Neptune is now gone retrograde. And I want to mention too, now that Mercury has moved into Leo, we're going to see Venus and the Sun throughout the month go into an opposition to your ruling planet. And I think this is kind of a succession of conversations that are asking you, how do I talk? How do I receive the feminine energy in my life? How do I interact? How do I feel my own receptive energy? And then how do I project myself out into the world? How do I demonstrate my ambition or my intention? And all of these three planets are kind of going to go bing, bing, bing throughout the month, being hit by your ruling planet that's going, don't lie to me. Pluto's the detective. Pluto's the detective Columbo of the Zodiac. And when it's in its highest vibration, it's super smart. Even if it doesn't look smart on the outside, it just looks like it's creating mayhem, but that's not necessarily true. And I can't help but laugh at the fact that when I go to 12 o'clock, which is a standard time for astrologers to use, talking about transits, and look, the moon is at 1 degree of Gemini. The moon is going to zip around, and the sun's at 11 degrees. It's just all over the place with these ones. Let's go to the new moon in Cancer on the 5th. This new moon is significant because it is sandwiched between 2 full moons in Capricorn. This is going to happen at 3:57 p.m. Pacific time. And this full moon, this new moon feels very much about planting the seeds within myself to create a stronger connection with a bigger idea of who and what I can be and what I can experience in the way of comfort, home, nurturing, feeling connected, feeling a sense of safety. The 10th house is a house of public status, social status. And here we see, naturally it's Capricorn. So there's that layer of leadership. But here, I'm sorry, the 9th house is naturally the Sagittarian energy of my bigger beliefs, my connection to my ideologies, my philosophies, my religious beliefs. I believe that what's happening here is there is this opportunity to infuse a sense of feeling nurtured, taking a sense of feeling that the universe is supporting me. It is providing for me. You know, there's that saying, oh, everything's always working out for me. This is what I think is this new moon for you, Scorpio, to give yourself an opportunity, because when the planets move from the Cancerian energy into your 10th house, this could give you an opportunity to feel the manifestations, the joy, the pleasure, even your leadership more succinctly as the month moves forward. But this awareness, you know, again, there now the nodes are at 10 degrees, Mars is at 19 degrees. This new moon is very powerful. It's all about using your mind and your voice and your ears as a concerto, you know, a concert in working together instead of being reactive. But things could potentially happen. We're still feeling this loose opposition to Mercury that feel like they're happening to you, but they're giving you opportunities to demonstrate something new and evolved. And this new moon is planting the seeds for that. The Capricorn full moon at the end of June would have illuminated fears, restrictions, limitations, where you feel there's authority over you, limiting you in some way. So then we're planting these seeds in this new moon for the opposite experience. And then when we get to the end of the month and we experience the second Capricorn moon, I think this is going to be where everything sort of pops, the aha moment. So let's move now to the 11th, where Venus will experience her opposition to Pluto. Now, Venus and Pluto both rule money, and Scorpio rules money. So this could have a lot to do with making money or making more money, receiving compensation in some way for your personal skills and talents. And you may feel some sort of push-pull in this dynamic. So when we talk about Venus moving into your 10th house, and now Mercury's been there, your actions are very obvious to those around you. And I think that Pluto is really, again, pulling on you to remain conscious. And I don't know how easy this is, because as we get to the middle of the month, we have Mars coming into a conjunction with Uranus in Taurus. And Taurus is your 7th house of both personal and professional partnerships, contractual partnerships. It's also the house where we foster peace and diplomacy and a sense of cooperation with others. So, you know, this is a polarizing dynamic, because those Scorpios that are standing in awareness and not judgment or criticism of themselves or others, but just saying what feels the best for me. And as I start to think about what feels the best for me, then I invite not only others, but myself to sit in this energy without worrying about what history has to say about it. Because Taurus rules a sense of history, our personal history, the history that was developed as a result of how we were nurtured as children. And, you know, you're looking at Scorpio has an Aquarius 4th house, and that could indicate a very unusual upbringing. It can also feeling a little bit lonely and feeling not connected. Aquarius is a big futuristic energy, and it's not warm and fuzzy like Cancer is. So that Cancer new moon was giving you an opportunity to plant the seeds for feeling something much more vulnerable and emotional. And now Venus's opposition is bringing that into play, and money may be into play too. For some reason, money's hitting me with Scorpio. And we see Jupiter at 10 degrees as well, Jupiter in your 8th house of other people's money. So as a result of how you've been showing up, you could very well experience people investing more in you in some way or another, or seeing more exchange of bounty, expansion. The sun is at 19 degrees now. Jupiter's at 10 degrees. Having Venus at 0 degrees is a new beginning, a new energy. All right, let's go on to the 15th. This day is going to be a little bit, I think, a polarizing day. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see some things in the news that have happened. We've got an exact conjunction with Mars and Uranus. And again, this is in your 7th house. These two planets together are unexpected anger and resentment popping up, explosions, but it can also be epiphanies. It can also be where the genius understands that Mars energy in a way that becomes the hero, becomes the pioneer, becomes actually the person who inspires passion. And I'm a Mars ruled girl. And when Mars was spent 7 months in Gemini, which is my 3rd house, I became acutely aware of my interactions with others and how, when I was hot, was I getting what I want, even if I was right? And I wasn't. So now Mars has spent the last 2 years taking what it learned in those 7 months, and it's been traveling through the Zodiac. Now it's coming back to roost for a next month or two and practice what it has learned. And this is going to be expanded by Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is considered in detriment in Gemini, but Jupiter is a world traveler. So wherever Jupiter is going to be exploring, discovering, learning, looking at things from the big picture. So this is a day where some people may be extremely unconscious and act out very aggressively, and others may be liberated from some of their lower dynamics. We do see a challenging dynamic between Mercury and Saturn. So this is a quincunx. It's like a blind spot. And yet they're both at the 19th degree. And so for me, this is like, how am I creating peace and harmony? Or am I going back and chewing on history over and over and over again? Again, this is your 5th house of romance, of young love, of courtship and dating and having fun and going out. And Leo loves that. That's Leo's natural house. But the mind here is in some sort of conflict. It's not seeing some sort of imprint. And it's an emotional thing. This moon's going to move quickly, but it's related to something emotional. And it's going to be an emotional day for you as the moon moves, into a tighter square with those thoughts and those people. You could even find yourself arguing with your workmates, your teammates, your siblings. But as you stand in your consciousness, in your awareness, you have an opportunity to take advantage of the trine to Chiron in Aries. Aries is your 6th house. And this is a house that is, it's the Virgo energy overlaid with the Aries energy. So it's about being brave and understanding how you're behaving in a mercurial way. Mercury rules communication, and it rules communications in the workplace because it rules Virgo. Now let's go on to the 20th. We're going to see Mars enter, go a little later in the day. Mars is going to enter Gemini. And in doing so, it becomes in an exact trine to Pluto. These are the co-ruling planets of your sign. And while they are considered very difficult in the onset, most people will talk about the warrior and about the criminals and about the abuse and the anger and frustration and the dominance. I see all of that as an opportunity to be brave. Some of the most annoyingly strong, powerful people are the ones who are willing to go into the fire. They won't stay inside the herd. And this favorable aspect for your liberation, your awareness, and the demonstration of that as Mars moves into Gemini. And that is kind of a double whammy because Gemini is your 8th house and you naturally rule the 8th house. So this digging deep into the psychological imprint of your monkey mind is going to pay off big time. And while there is an opposition growing, we'll see it go exact. We knew this was happening, right? We talked about that earlier in the video. This is an opportunity for you to have an awareness that people may have said they see you one way, but now this is your opportunity to let history be history And for you, just start like from here on. And, you know, some people won't let go of their perception, though there's a piece of information about moving forward with those folks. On the 21st is our second full moon in Capricorn. And me and my darn numbers here, it's at 3:17 a.m. Guess what that 3:17 reduces down to an 11. And Venus is at 11 degrees. We've got the 29-degree full moon illuminating something about my thoughts, how I perceive my fears, how I perceive being nurtured. There is the sun in a full moon, the moon literally is reflecting the sun's light. And so here in Cancer, this is reflecting the light of how you feel nurtured. And so you're going to come into a big awareness of I kind of want to offer it this way. There could be an awareness that without meaning to, you've been carrying a story about yourself that you don't even think is true. A story of not getting what you want. We also have this beautiful moon trine over here to Mars. We've got this focal point coming in at Neptune, which gives me this feeling like there's a spiritual epiphany that said, man, you know, okay, so I'm going to be funky with you right now. Thank You, Kim on Taylor Swift's new album is a perfect example, you know, where she is literally saying, thank you, because if it wasn't for you being you, I might not have been me. Now, we know she didn't like the experience, but it is what it is. This is the ultimate epiphany that you get to have. This is the full moon epiphany, that somehow some dirtbag in your life or dirtbag experience is actually serving to fuel you in a much bigger way. And this is the invitation to take that, to be brave, to move forward, to allow yourself to shift your belief system as Mars moves into your 8th house of transformation and of power of the mind, power of the awareness of the ebb and the flow. And when you hit, we all have a default, we all have a template, and it'll always show up, but we don't always have to act on it. And the awareness is why I like to use that word, gives me choice. And if anybody likes choice, it's a Scorpio. All right, let's go on to the 22nd. This is where we're going to see the sun come into its exact opposition with Pluto. So this is our third planet enjoying this this dynamic as it moves into the house of Leo. The house of Leo, where it's all about the self, it's about joy, pleasure. And for you, it's your 10th house, Leo. So it is like your public status and how people see you. And there is, to me, a potential to see the lighter side of Scorpio here. To, you know, there's Mercury at 27 degrees. Yes, he's been traveling through Leo, having a good old time, not too much. It was kind of a quick journey. I guess I want to say just a couple of weeks. And now as it's going to move into Virgo, I think this is an opportunity at that 27th degree to recognize that sometimes it's not always easy to be consistent. We have an awareness, and sometimes we think as humans that once we are aware of something that it should just integrate in our lives effortlessly, but this might indicate not so much, because the square over here to Uranus and Mars, and then the blind side quincunx to retrograde Neptune makes me think that there could be you know, one step forward, two steps back. But what's important is the awareness, not the steps. And that's what Chiron has to offer, because with each awareness, there'll be less one step forward, two steps back. There'll be like two steps forward, one step back. And each time that step back is giving you perception and perspective. Now let's go to the 26th, where we'll see Mercury move into its domicile. And this is kind of where, again, the month feels a little like it's a roller coaster of awareness and then sort of going back into old habits and then awareness. Here we see, and I click on Mercury in Virgo, which is your 11th house of your hopes, your dreams. It's also how you interact with social groups, your platforms that you hang out on. And there's challenging aspects to this. First, we see a quincunx to Pluto. So this is like Mercury had a conversation, was kind of straight up and forward. And now the conversation is like, it's almost like covert, right? Like Mercury has this awareness of this sort of underbelly that it wants to shift, but it's not conscious of it. And this is further evidenced by the more challenging side of Neptune, things being foggy. Mercury can't see it right now. And yet Mercury feels like I got to go back and do things the way I know how to do them. This is the challenging dynamic of Scorpio, is it's a fixed sign. So it could default to wanting to go back to what you know versus soldiering through as Saturn requires, because Saturn is making a quincunx to Venus and a square and a half over here to the sun and a square to the expansion of Jupiter. So this is a little bit of a challenging end of the month, because it's sort of like working out, the beginning of the year comes and you're really good at going to the gym all the time, and then a few weeks later you're tired, or you went out with your friends the night before and you just want to sleep in, and then old habits set in, and they set in fast. So that's what's happening towards the end of the month. But, we just had this full moon that gave us an opportunity to just have a little bit of awareness. And then as we take sort of the idea of Mercury, short bits of information, and we just give ourselves spoons full of consciousness, it'll add up. And depending upon how much momentum you have, it'll depend how quickly it adds up. So I think this is super powerful. But I say that all the time. I think everything is powerful. My Mercury's in Scorpio. Okay, and this is the end of the month. And the end of the month feels very much as if we're still kind of experiencing the same dynamics. Saturn is only moved barely a degree, and Saturn is making a challenging dynamic to Jupiter. So, this could be where there's a feeling like a restriction of some kind or a challenge to your expansion. And that this is where I want to reframe it for my Scorpions and say, every challenge is a divine opportunity to demonstrate an evolved version of yourself. And it isn't for the crowd, it's for you. It isn't for the audience, it's for you. And as you do that, you find yourself more and more at ease with yourself, more and more in joy. I look at this, here's your 12th house of Libra, feeling a nice trine to Jupiter and to Mars. And this is brave action in shifting my beliefs and understanding maybe a little bit that I need to slow down and look at the details of things before I just react to something. We do have this nice sextile to the sun, a little bit of a blind side half square here to Venus, but I think that this is a stronger energy, especially for Scorpions. So the month ends with, again, sort of a mixed bag of things that support us. And then as we reframe those disruptions from just being a pain in the patoot to a divine disruption for an opportunity to display a consciousness and awareness, a choice and an intention, we become very powerful over our life path and our life experiences. All right, Scorpio, that's it for me for July 2024. Please like, please subscribe, please share. And I'll be back in August with your August monthly. And if you'd like to get a reading, my information is below in the description. See you next month.